Have you been interested in learning how to get started with podcasting? Or perhaps you yourself, you have a gift and a message and you don't know where to start? Well, today on episode 1 of Careeta Confessions, I am joined by the awesome, amazing Careeta, who is going to be sharing with you some tips and strategies on how to unwrap your gifts. I'm so pleased to be joined by the creator, founder, CEO of the Unwrap Your Gift podcast. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Careeta on, and here she is, the beautiful Careeta. Hello, my dear.
Hello, Janine. Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. So listen, before we get into today's tea, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you as well for being instrumental in encouraging me to get on to LinkedIn, and I'm very grateful to you for agreeing to do that. But I'm going to hand the mic over to you in a moment for you to introduce yourself and just share a bit more about you. But I am just so impressed by all of the wonderful things that you have accomplished. And I'm just going to share some. Is that all right, my dear? Can I share a little bit?
Go ahead.
All right, so you can elaborate. All right, let me clear my pipes. Welcome everyone that's coming in. I'll introduce myself in a moment, but I'm really excited about today's interview. So Careeta is an ICF certified life coach and the founder of the award-winning Born with a Gift. And in 2010, Careeta became one of the youngest certified Black female coaches in the UK. That's the trumpet for you, Careeta.
You're in that trumpet.
And since then, she has coached thousands of people from around the world, which is amazing. And Careeta now coaches leaders and aspiring leaders to gain the clarity that they need in their vision, to build their confidence and own their gifts. That is so important, so they can show up powerfully in the world. Now, Careeta, I could just go on and on and on. There's so much more that we're going to talk about, but I want to just give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. So please, Careeta, tell us a bit about who you are and, of course, what you do. Over to you, and thank you very much for joining.
Wow. Firstly, thank you, Janine, for having me as a guest on the show. I'm so excited to be here. I've enjoyed your work. I love what you do. So yeah, and that was an amazing introduction. Thank you so much. So I'm a coach. I've been a certified coach for over 13 years. And I'm also a corporate trainer. I work with a large number of corporate organizations doing training on goal setting, time management, purpose building. And I'm a podcast host. I'm the host of the Unwrap Your Gift podcast. Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. I could see you all. Thank you for joining. And I'm also a foster carer. So yeah, in brief.
You are multi-talented, my dear. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to just say hello to Natasha and also to Latanza, who have joined us on today's live. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. So let me just introduce myself. Gosh, I forgot to do that. So for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Janine, and thank you so much for joining us today on episode 1 of Careeta Confessions. And what I do, I'm a live video strategist, the founder of Boss It Live, helping content creators and business owners generate more leads and sales for their business by utilizing this wonderful tool, creating high converting live stream and video content with confidence. And we're doing this collaborative series because I want to bring awesome people on like Careeta to just share their message to empower the wider community. And Careeta, I think you have been, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best possible choices that I could have brought on. Recently, I was a guest on your podcast, which I'm really excited for that episode to go live. And you were just so gracious in allowing me to share my message, and you do it so well. And I can see from that time we spent together on your podcast how you're able to extract people that have a gift and to get them to share it in a way that is impactful and empowering for them. So one of the questions I want to ask you is, what inspired you to start the Unwrap Your Gift podcast? What was it that made you say, do you know what, this is something that I want to do? And you were giving me a bit of context before we came live, but I just want to hear a bit more from you in terms of, yeah, what inspired you, my dear? Because I want to start a podcast, but I need some inspiration from you.
Do you know, it's actually a really interesting story. I never really was somebody who liked podcasts. I thought, who's going to sit down for 2 hours and listen to somebody talk for that long? And I just always used to say I didn't have enough time. And it was only, I think last year, one of my friends said to me, Careeta, do you have a podcast? And I was like, no. And then I stopped and I thought, well, why don't I have a podcast? Like, I coach, I talk, I speak. That's what I do. And I recently found some podcasts that I actually like listening to from some business women. And they used to share all these gems. And I remember listening to them thinking, they're sharing all this stuff. I feel like I shouldn't be listening. Like, I felt like I was creeping in the room and they couldn't see me and they were sharing all these gems. And I really like the concept of people sharing information and getting knowledge without you actually necessarily fully being in the room with them. And it inspired me to start the Unwrap Your Gift podcast, because I have amazing conversations with people from all around the world. And I thought, why don't more people hear these conversations? I don't see this online. And I always say, if you can't see it, then be it. And I chose to start a podcast where I would interview amazing guests from around the world to share their stories and also share how they found their gifts and how they use them in the world. So that is how it briefly got started.
I love, love, love that. This is all about connections and conversations. And, you know, one of the things that's important to me is community and empowering people to utilize live video to share their gift, to share their message. And so that's what I'm hearing coming from you. And one of the things that I want to say is, for anyone that is actually listening, is that conversations are extremely powerful. Being in spaces to have conversations, not only to share your stories, but to listen, is just, it's the building block, I think, for creating something great. And you have gotten on the road, I believe, Careeta, to creating something great. And from what I've seen so far, you really have done a fantastic, phenomenal job in terms of the guests that you've actually brought on, the conversations that you're actually having as well. And like you've said, you're having conversations with people the world over. So how are you actually even doing that? Like, conversation with people from the world over? Well, you know, yeah, I want to hand it over to you. So how are you doing that? And we are going a little bit off questions. We did say that we were going to go a little bit off the old piece. But I wanted to know from you in terms of, you know, how are you doing that? If you're talking to people the world over, I'm assuming it's from your work anyway, because you have had extensive experience, but I want to pass that over to you.
Yeah. So I have a lot of people in my network from all around the world because I'm a virtual coach. So the majority of my work is virtual. And when I first started the podcast, I think I wrote down I want 3 guests within like 3 months. And someone said, why are you playing so small? Why are you playing so small? You can have more guests than that. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, I can. So I reached out to some people in my network and said, do you want to jump on my new podcast? They didn't even know what it was. And they said, yes. And I was like, wow, everybody I've answered said yes. So this was great. That was a great way to get started. So it was reaching out to people in my network, connecting with them so that they can share their story, because I knew how amazing they were. And international is quite easy because we're all international now. I'm sure there's people from all around the world who are going to watch this. And that's just the world we live in post-COVID.
Absolutely. I want to ask you, why, though, do you think that people said yes? Why was it so easy for you to get the guests and for it to flow for you?
Mm-hmm. So for me, it was mission-based. And the mission of the podcast was to create a space where people can share their gifts and what they're doing with the world. And people are more brought into a vision when you have a mission and a purpose. It wasn't about let's try and be famous. It's like, let's share this message with a wide range of people. Because a lot of the time in our work, we're quite limited to how many people we can actually serve at a time. But with a podcast, it's one to many, to thousands, to millions, and it's all in one recording. So that was one of the main reasons why a lot of people said yes. And it was probably enrolled in my, please, can you come on my podcast? So.
Absolutely. And one of the things about podcasts is that, you know, it's a little bit less intensive, I believe, in terms of, in comparison with the live experience, right? So with the live experience, it's like, do you know what? It is what it is, right? Whatever happens, happens. You can't edit it. You can't control it. So I think it's a great way for people to be eased into the kind of quote unquote being more visual space, being, you know, online, being seen by people, because the camera is a bit scary initially, isn't it? But I think with audio and with podcasting, that kind of eases people. It's an easier way to get people started. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel that it is a great, if you do audio only, then it's a great way to get started if you don't want to be on video. There's more of an evolution now to video, and it helps people build that know, like, and trust as well.
Absolutely. We're going to get onto that. So the next question I have for you is this. Why did you choose to start a podcast and not something else? Right? Why podcasting? I know we're kind of touching in on it, but yeah, I want you to delve a little bit deeper. Over to you, my dear.
Let's just say I've been an online creator since about 2009, and it didn't start with podcasting. It started with just pictures. That's all we had. We had no video, we had no live, so I just used to post pictures. And then as it evolved, video came along. And then when I because there's a long story into me starting coaching, I stopped for a while and then I came back. And when I came back, I switched to being an online coach, and the whole industry had changed. So I had to learn really quickly, how do you kind of be an online coach and show up online? I was resistant. I had imposter syndrome. I felt I had suffered with perfectionism and all of the things that you could think of. Trust me, I had them all, right? I done reels. I started off with reels before, and I think I'd done over 100 reels, got over 100 views, and signed 0 clients from doing that. Mm-hmm. And it made me think, well, what is it that my audience and my ideal clients really want? And podcasting, I found it actually builds a real connection with people, gives them information. And I'm not doing it to try and sell a program. I'm doing it to serve and share powerful information. And everybody seems to love that a lot more than buy my program, buy my course. That tends to put people off a lot as well. So yeah.
I think that it's a great way, as I said, conversations, community, to build the know, love, and trust. Because yes, we know that video is the thing for social media right now. We know that there is a huge, big push for reels and short form content. What I've seen with short form video content, and I'm a creator of all types of video, right? Live stream is my main swim lane, but I create the short form video content. But I will always say, you have to take into consideration that that is not the way. If you're trying to build community, even though people say, talk about community, that word gets thrown around quite a bit. Do we really understand what community means when it comes to that? But I digress. But it's the case of, with reels, it's entertainment, it's short form. You're not getting people's attention, and there's all this focus around going viral, and the focus is on the creator, and it's got to be on the people. And I think that when it comes to podcasting, people who consume podcasts are people who are listeners, deep thinkers, people that really want to have conversations, which is why on platforms like LinkedIn, the audio rooms do really well. Is that the correct term for it? Audio rooms. Audio rooms, I don't know what the content, the correct terminology is. But the point that I'm making is that you're always going to be able to, I think, do something very, very special in the video space, of course, but especially when it comes to podcasts. I mean, what are your thoughts? I mean, I know you've shared, but I definitely think 100%, which is why I'm so happy about this conversation, because this is inspiring me to start a podcast. It's something that I have been putting off. And I think, Careeta, the reason why I've been putting off podcasts is because, you said about your issues around video. There's something about me that I'm used to doing this, but with my voice, it's just my voice and what's coming out of here. So we all have like our reservations and our kind of, things that we're kind of a little bit shy about and not so confident in. So I'm going off piece again. So talk to me, somebody like me who is super duper concerned and not so confident with maybe just going in with just sharing my message via audio. What advice could you give to somebody like me? I'm going to pass it back to you. We really are going off piece. I'm sorry. You're all good with that though, right?
That's all right. We're just starting a conversation. It's fine. I do this. And this is the thing. I found something that worked for me. I'm a coach. I do a lot of listening. So podcasting, I answer my guest questions and I listen. I don't talk a lot. If you know me, I'm not really a speaker. I do a lot of listening. So podcasting worked for me. And I always say, be intentional intentional. Find out what works for you. What is it that you're actually trying to achieve from starting a podcast? Is it just to start a podcast because everybody else has got a podcast? Or is that something that works for your business and the type of clients that you want to attract? And that was what I started to do. I started to look at what worked, what didn't work, and what do I feel like my audience or my ideal clients would like to have. And for me, it sat in the podcasting. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that does help. What I'm hearing, and for those of you that are here joining us, thank you so much for being here. What I'm hearing, and you're saying what I always say to my clients as well, is that it's always got to be focus on the people that you're serving and not on yourself. Because when we focus on ourselves, that's when we get overly concerned about, oh, how many views have I got? How many downloads have I got? Or are people going to be interested in hearing from me? We make it too focused on ourselves. And that's when we never fully 100% show up and unwrap our gifts, right? So yes, so thank you so much for fixing my head on straight for me. All right, let's move on to the next question. So there's been a rise in popularity of video podcasting. How do you think creators can set themselves apart in the video podcasting space? Because that's what you actually do, right, Careeta?
Yeah. And this is where the importance, I talk about personal branding, knowing who you are, understanding your personal brands, because that's what will make you different. Like I sit on a red chair, I have a red mic. That's just part of my personal brands. And it's consistent across the board. Find what works for you. And I feel like the people that you see with podcasting, you really are clear of what is it that they actually do. And you understand their message and their vibe, their theme. When you find out what your gift is and you do something that's around your gift, and when I talk about gifts, I'm talking about your natural skills, talents, and abilities. If you focus on that and then you just accommodate that with your personal brand and start to think, what is my voice? What do I want to be remembered for? And then that way you're starting to just hone in on who you are and your message that you have to share with the world. So be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. So yeah.
Absolutely. And by the way, did I say that I love your red mic and your red chair? No, I love that. No, I love that. And I always talk about the fact that, you know, you don't have to, when you're getting started, whether it's with live stream video or whatever, not, don't get yourself overly bent out of shape or worrying about having all the bells and whistles in terms of your setup, because sometimes we can overly concern ourselves with having all of the things that we end up never taking action. But it is important to have, I think, in terms of a personal brand, something that makes you stand out, makes you easily recognizable. So for me, in terms of my setups, when I go live or even when I'm doing my short form, it's always with the same studio setup and background. And then also having your own creative spin on things, the way you say things, you know, your own sort of, like me and the trumpet, you know, that might get on some people's nerves, but you'll remember me for the trumpet. But it's just about bringing something that is uniquely you, and that again goes in line with what you are all about in terms of unwrapping your gift. So thank you so much. Let me just do a quick reset for those who are jumping in today's live. Thank you very much for joining us today. For episode 1 of Creator Confessions, I am joined by Careeta Robert Green, the founder of Born with a Gift. And today we're just having a lovely conversation about helping you how to unwrap your gift through podcasting. So if podcasting is something that you've been thinking about or you're just getting started, Careeta is here to serve the tea nice and hot. And you're doing very well with it, dear. You're absolutely killing the game. I'm loving what you're sharing with us today. You enjoy yourself as well? No?
This is one of my favorite topics. And, you know, this is another thing as well. I got a lot of people saying, oh, can I pick your brain? Can I answer you a few questions? And I can't do that for everybody. So I thought, let me do that in a more general way with the podcasting, where I share useful tips and information. And it's a great way of sharing a message and getting it out to lots of people without you necessarily having lots of one-to-one conversations. So yeah. Also, I was going to talk about the rise of the next generation, and excuse me, we've got a bit of building work going on.
That's all right. Yeah, bless you. You did that really well, because I was trying to bring myself back on the screen and I was like, why is it not working? I was pressing the button. Like, just segued in. Oh yeah, I wanted to. So thank you very much for helping me out with that. That was a great segue, my dear. I love it.
Do you know what? This is the thing with live video. You can't
Love
always
it.
predict what's going to happen. And I
Absolutely
think
not.
the fear of people people have that it might go wrong stops them from even doing it in the first place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I was actually checking where we are with the question. Let me just double check. Did I ask you this question? No. What have been some of the challenges of starting and growing your podcast, Careeta? Because, you know, one of the things that we will see on social media a lot of the time, regardless of whether you're a coach, you're a successful podcaster, video marketing expert, TikTok or whatever, we always see the 6 figures in 6 minutes. We don't see a lot of the time people actually being really honest and sharing some of the challenges that really do go with starting a business or going into a new area or doing something like launching a podcast. So please share with us, you know, some of the challenges that you yourself personally have faced, because, you know, sometimes we can feel like we're alone. It's only us out here struggling. And this is what Creator Confessions is about. It's about having real conversations. So yeah, I just wanted to pass that on to you and ask you, you know, to share with us. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was my biggest challenge. I'll be honest with you. I was my biggest challenge. I've got a certain standard that I like. I've got a bit of perfectionist tendencies where I need things to be just right. And I had to give that up when it came to starting a podcast, because if I did still have 100% the way that I wanted it to be, it would never be out. I wouldn't have over 17 episodes with 17 guests. I wouldn't have any of that, thousands of downloads, if I stayed in it needs to be perfect. And I feel like that was one of the biggest challenges that I faced. And I always keep my ears to the ground and look at the next generation and how they're using social media. Because I was quite a young coach, so I merged social media and coaching together as a way of really connecting with people. And the next generation, like, they're literally, a lot, if you look at TikTok, they're rolling out of bed sometimes and they're going live without even like brushing their teeth. And then if they do brush their teeth, they might say sponsored by Colgate, and then they've got some sponsorship going on. So the world has evolved, and for me, it was just getting out of my own way and being very focused on what's the message that I want to share and how can I share it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you've spoken about the next generation and how they're actually showing up, you know, the whole rise of get ready with me's and kind of the no niche era. There's this whole thing of just kind of just doing it either a phrase, doing it imperfect, which I do actually love. And I think that's an example for those that are in my generation, the old Gen Xers, you know, that we just like, yeah. No, I don't want to do that. It's just kind of just saying, you know, letting go of some of that. Because I think as well, with us as business owners, we can have this fear around showing up and, you know, damaging our brand reputation, saying the wrong thing, etc. But the truth of the matter is that people are looking for, especially post-COVID, I think, people are looking for real, authentic connections and conversations, whether it's in this way, format live, or if it is in podcasting. And I think that we should take some of the examples of the creators that we're seeing, you know, especially with the rise of the creator economy, to seeing what some of the younger generations, how they're actually blending, you know, their message with authenticity and, you know, being a bit rough around the edges.
Yeah, with like 60,000 people watching them live.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's amazing. We just kind of need to, I like that. Some of it I do think is you know, a load of trash. I'm like, why are we watching this? But at the end of the day, I think one of the things that we have to remember is the only way that we can get to mastery is by trying things and being willing to make mistakes and fail and test things. I think sometimes we can be a bit rigid, but that's what we're seeing with them. And I absolutely love that. Absolutely, 100%. All right, let's move on. So the next question is, what were your strategies for launching and growing the Unwrap Your Gift podcast? I think we've kind of, you know, we've been saying this, but what was your specific strategy that you had that you thought, right, this is what I'm going to do to be able to grow a successful podcast?
Yeah. So for me, it was looking at my time, and actually, because I work, like I coach, I actually do coaching full time. So I have a lot of clients and contracts that I have to commit to. So I'd look in my diary and find times where I'm able to just fully block out and just focus on recording the podcasts. So I record a podcast in bulk, I record the podcast in bulk sessions, and then I'll schedule them out to go out. So I'm organized in that sense so that it doesn't feel too stressful, because what I did in the beginning was I'd probably record one and then have to find another guest. And then that took time. So there'll be gaps in between the releases of the podcast. So when I bulk do them and then release them and schedule them throughout, that seems to work a lot more better for me. So I'm just organized like that. So I just say, find a way that works for you. Some people might like the spontaneousness, but I like it a bit more planned and organized, so I know when the podcast is coming out.
Love that. I think that just helps to have that kind of flow, that system and flow, like with anything. But yeah, just bulk recording seems to make sense, because things can happen, right? And you want to just make sure that you're staying on top and staying ahead of what it is that you're doing. So that is awesome. Guys, I hope you're enjoying today's episode of Creator Confessions with Careeta, talking about how to unwrap your gift with podcasting. And I want to just remind you that if any of you have any questions for Careeta, please do drop it into the chat, and we will, of course, give time to answer your questions. No question is silly. That is what Careeta is here for. She is ready to answer any questions that you may have. But the next question I have for you, Careeta, is what have been your biggest successes so far with the Unwrap Your Gift podcast?
For me, it's the amazing conversations and the guests. So I've had over 17 guests on the podcast, and they're from like India, the US, Canada, Sweden. I really wanted a diverse podcast to hear different people's experiences and different people's perspectives. So that was one of the main focuses that I had. And I'd say from doing that, it allowed different people to connect and find out, well, it started that conversation. What is my gift? What makes me unique? How can I unwrap my gifts? And hearing how other people have done it, it inspires other people to start to look within themselves and find out how they can do it too. So that for me is the intention of the podcast. So the fact that has happened, I'll call that a success.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I want to say about what you're doing, and I think it's quite vital, is that of course, every single one of us have an innate gift, but there are lots of things that happen in life, environment, personal experiences, how we grew up, all these different things that can make it really difficult for people to see their gifts. And also, you know, by default, we're quite subjective. We don't see ourselves outside of what we know is absolute truth of ourselves. You know, we're the only people, I think Myron Golden says it, you're the only person who knows 100% of the lies you've ever told. You know, every single lie, you know what ones are lies and what is basically life. He says it much more eloquently. So I think that we can have a tendency to just be really kind of hard on ourselves, like, what is my actual gift? Like for me, I remember when I first started live streaming way back in 2015. God blimey, it's a lifetime, it's social media, yes. But I can remember when I actually I ran my 5-day challenge, the Go Live in 5 challenge, and I ran it inside my Facebook group, Was you part of my group, Women of Worth, Careeta? Wow. Okay. So my group, it was over 5,000+ women worldwide. It was a free community. It was back then before we had all the restrictions on Facebook. And it was just a dynamic community. I had like 7 Women of Worth WOW leaders doing different things to just keep the community active. And I remember when I ran my challenge for the first time, I ran it inside my group. And I remember a friend of mine who's a business coach way ahead of me. She was like, you should be charging for this challenge. And I said, charge for it? Can I do that? She was like, yeah. She's like, Janine, do you realize what you're actually doing? Do you realize? And I was just like, I'm just going live. That's how I saw it, that I was just going live. And I didn't even see, and this before I started my business, before I started building my list, you know, I just didn't know it was whole heart and passion. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it was the fact that this was something that I was gifted to do. And I did not see the value in what I was doing, to the point where I questioned, is this something of value? Can I put a dollar or pound amount to it? And so it's really, really important, I think, that we help people by having conversations that, number one, remember you have a gift, whether you figured it out or not, it's there. And if you need that help to find that gift, then this is where you can get it. And here are some stories of people who may have been in your situation, and this is what they've done to start moving the needle forward. So conversations and stories are so important, Careeta. I'm going to pass the mic back to you because I was chomping on a bit there, and I see a couple of comments have come up. Careeta, I'm passing it back to you because I just felt like I was going to go on my box like I did in your, on your podcast.
I was thinking, how much time have we got? We just touched the surface here.
I know. We're almost at time. I'm going to pass it back to you.
Oh dear. Yeah, no, a lot of the time we are blocking our gifts. We're hiding them. We're telling ourselves we're not good enough to share them. They need to be perfect. We're comparing them to other people. And that's why a lot of people do not come online or share through podcasts or their social media because they don't feel good enough. And that's where the work behind the scenes in confidence building, mindset work, that's the important work. That's the real work, because it's all about who are you being when you do show up, because most of that conversation is happening inside your head and you block yourself before you've even taken the steps to get out there and share your message. When you move from about you to about how you can serve, that's where you start to see the difference.
Absolutely, 100%. Moving from you to who you can serve. I love that. I'm gonna have to write that down. What timestamp this? 31 minutes that you said that. I just wanted to bring the comment back up from Fraser Ramsey, who said, "Hope all is well with you both." Fraser himself runs a podcast as well, so I know this is a topic of interest. Good to see you as well, Fraser. This is such a great conversation. I could sit here and talk to you all day, but I better move this question on. We got 2 more. Let's go. What tips could you offer for business owners who want to grow their own podcast? Now, I know you've shared so much value already, Careeta, but just a few tips that come to the top of your head, top of mind, that you would like to share with those who would like to get started. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'd say find podcasts that you like and be inspired. Don't copy them. Find your own way to add your own flavor to your podcast, because that's what people are looking for. They're looking for a unique way of listening that they can relate to. So if it's just like somebody else's, then it's not going to feel like it's something special. So find your voice in the podcasting world and then get help, because most of it is mindset work that you need to do on yourself first to be able to feel confident enough to show up online. So those are just 2 tips.
Absolutely. And it is about being inspired, like you said, not copying, but at the end of the day, we do need to educate ourselves, do our research, see what is out there, see what audiences are responding to, people that are doing something similar to us or have a similar audience. How are their audiences responding to the actual content they're actually sharing? And I think that's really, really useful. So thank you so much. The next question I have for you is, please can you share with us one creator confession about your business or your industry? Because this is Creator Confessions. So in terms of your industry, what do you want to share with us?
Again, this is it's a consistent theme of be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. I feel like one of the things that I would say is that when you actually get in tune with who you are and your message in the world, your gifts and what you're here for, you then start to focus on how you can share that message with everyone. And why I'm saying the confession of that is I see a lot of copy and paste going on. And when you copy and paste, people can't distinguish you from somebody else. So that's why I'm saying be yourself. Everybody else is already taken. And also, if you could see the bandwagon, then it's already too late.
Oh, so I'm going to ask you, just if you can see the bandwagon, it's a little bit too late. Just can you share a little bit more on what you mean by that?
Yeah. So what I find a lot of the time is people jump on the hot stuff. Jump on the hot stuff. What's hot? What's moving? What's working for that coach who's got millions of followers? I'm going to do exactly what they're going to do, what they're doing. I'm going to copy their strategy and think it's going to work for my business, even though I've just started. I'm 3 months old. And then you start comparing yourself and trying to follow people who are way ahead of the journey. And then that's where the frustration, the resentment comes in, because you're not in the same space. So I done it myself when I first started. And that's why I'm sharing, because when I stopped doing that and I started to say, well, what's my vibe? What works for me? That's when I started to see tractions in my business. I got clients. I didn't even have to go out there and search for clients. I started to attract clients because I was just being myself. Absolutely. And I think just being yourself, when you know who you are and you follow your gift and you ride with that, rather than trying to be like the coach or the person who's the top of your industry, use them as inspiration, but find out your own way.
Absolutely. Goes back to unwrapping your gift. Careeta, this has been an amazing conversation. I've really enjoyed your insights today. Thank you so much for joining. And I love that you have something that you're on a mission to do. You're on a mission to spread a positive message that we are all born with a gift and have special skills, talents, and gifts that we can use to be successful. And I feel like I stole the limelight from you, because the final question was, how can others connect with you? And any final closing words of inspiration to the viewers? I just wanted to share that, because I really just feel from what you shared that it's evident that that's what your heart is about. That's what your mission is. And it's really important that our mission, vision, and core values are clear, and also that our actions align with that. And I really do feel that that is the case with you. And so I'm going to pass this over to you. You have been an amazing guest on Careeta Confessions. How can people connect with you? And the final thing that you want to share before we close out today?
Amazing. So I'd say go and follow the Unwrap Your Gift podcast. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, Amazon. There's loads of episodes on there that you can that will actually help deepen this conversation that we started today. And I've also got the Unwrap Your Gift free masterclass if you wanted to delve deeper into what's my gift, what does that look like, and gain more clarity and focus on your goals. So we'll drop the links below after for all of those things as well. And closing message, Janine, you already started it. I said, what?
Oh, let me take myself off the screen. I was going to say, was going to get very Jamaican there. I'm going to do it because I don't care. I'm very sorry. I'll let you do it. I was so excited. As I said, I was like, oh no, that's her thing to do. Over to you, dear.
I love that. But that's just clear how when you're really clear on your vision, you enroll people into it and then they feel part of it too. So I'm going to close by saying, remember, we are all born with a gift, and we all have special skills, talents, and gifts that we can use to be successful. And now's the time to unwrap your gifts. Thank you, Janine, and thank you for everybody who has joined us today. I've enjoyed it so much.
Thank you so much, Careeta. And to all of you that have joined us, before we close out, I want to remind you that if you do have a question, please feel free to ask in the chat. Or if you go away and you think about another question, you can either DM myself or Careeta, or come back to the replay and drop it in the comments. And as Careeta has said, she's going to be, aren't you, Careeta? We're going to drop all of the links in the comments. You have to be very careful on Facebook, because Facebook are tearing content down with links at the moment. I don't know if any of you have experienced that, but that's a topic for another day. So we will share all of the links, how you can find Careeta on YouTube, get access to the complimentary masterclass, and any other questions that you have. Please make sure that you follow Careeta across social media. Again, we will make sure that all that information is there. And again, just to remind you before we close out today, we have for episode 1 been talking with the amazing Careeta Robert Green, the founder of Born with a Gift. And we have just been talking about how to unwrap your gift through podcasting. So definitely make sure that you guys connect with Careeta outside of this live stream. Careeta, thank you so much for your time today, because you could have been doing anything. You showed up as the real soldier that you are, in spite of some other things going on in the background. But this is what we do. We keep it going. We keep it moving. And guys, you're going to be seeing more from me and Careeta, because my podcast is coming out soon. My podcast interview with Careeta. And then I feel Careeta inspired. I think I need to just unwrap my gift and start using more pipes.
Oh,
with a podcast.
I love it.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you so much for watching us. We'll be back same time next week. No, I'm lying. We'll be back for episode 2 of Careeta Confessions next week, Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am going to be joined next week by the amazing is my word. Guys, you're going to have to give me a new word. My sister keeps telling me you use amazing too much. Anyway, I digress. Next week's episode 2, I will be here with Wave Wild, who is a TikTok strategist and business coach. We previously did a Creator Confessions interview on Instagram, which went so well. I now want to bring it here for you guys. But until the next time, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you back here next week for Creator Confessions Part 2.